Hello, Holistic Chamber of Commerce family. Welcome to today's Member Spotlight segment. And today I have with us Dr. Stephanie Mahan. I think I pronounced that correctly. We had technical issues, so we didn't have time to chat. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
Mahan, okay. And today she's going to talk to us about how chiropractic helps you adapt to stress. Notice it's not like cure stress because stress will always exist, but can we better adapt to it? A little bit about Dr. Stephanie is she's a second generation chiropractor practicing in her family's office in Cypress, Texas. She's passionate about educating her community on holistic health, how to better adapt to life stressors, and ways to improve the overall quality of life. She's had 30 plus years of experience, combined the doctors in her office, and she likes to help patients heal old disease patterns and thrive from the inside out. Welcome, Stephanie.
Yeah. Thank you. I did such a good job on my introduction.
Yes, you did.
Oh man! And so when I initially saw this opportunity to chat and just spotlight what I do, I know that in the Holistic Chamber there must be many chiropractors across the country, or at least I would hope so, because chiropractic really does fit on the more holistic side of healthcare. We're not here to put band-aids on anything. We're here to get to the cause of what's going on. And a lot of times what we identify in our office is the cause is stress, and stress comes in many forms, right? So usually when I'm seeing people, there's a big focus on physical stress, like pain and other dysfunctions in the body. Sometimes we go through, of course, other parts of stress, like chemical stress from environmental toxins, our food, our water, different medications, so many different factors there on chemical stress. And then, of course, really the king of all the stressors, which is emotional stress. And chemical stress and physical stress can make us emotionally stressed, and vice versa. There's so many ways that basically when my brain and my five senses are telling me that stress is around, I gotta do something about it, right? Because if we don't, we aren't going to survive. That's why they call it survival mode, right? Or fight or flight. That's when, there's some sort of stimulus, whether it's from outside or inside, that's telling my brain we're not safe. We need to do something. We need to go into protection mode, and a cascade of events happen, right? Maybe you've been cut off in traffic before, or you have experienced, something scary, right? Like that's as soon as fear enters, especially when it's all of a sudden, you can feel the changes that happen, and that's your brain telling your body, like, get ready. We got to either battle our way through this, or we got to run away, or we got to freeze and hide, or whatever that looks like. Survive. And these days it's not so much like, oh, there's a bear outside and I have to protect my family. It's, oh, I gotta get everyone to school on time today. I have to also work. I have to do everything around the house, especially
my laundry to-do list.
Just that alone, right? It feels like a bear. And so, yeah, it's our relationships, it's our family, our jobs, so many factors playing into our overall health, because especially with mental health being such a big part of the conversation today, that's really what dictates so much of it. We're not experiencing the joy and ease and peace and creativity that comes with having a clear and connected nervous system. And that's really where adapting to stress comes, is when we have a healthy, well adapted, well equipped nervous system.
So let me ask you a question. A lot of people, when they think, oh, I feel a lot of stress, they're like, I need a massage. So I'm guessing that, oh, I have a lot of stress, I need a chiropractor isn't usually something that's put together. So what do people typically come to you for that you realize, oh, this is a symptom of stress?
Yes, that's a great question. And so, yeah, so many people are like, oh, I need to go get a massage, which massage helps because number one, it makes you slow down, right? You can't be on your phone during a massage, right? And so you get that time to zen out, be away from everything and breathe and relax. And that's why it usually helps when we're stressed out. But almost always when it's like a physical problem, right? It's like recurring. So I got to go do that thing again, right? But for when people come into me, a lot of times it is back pain, right? It'll be neck pain, low back pain, but almost always that isn't the only thing going on. And a lot of times, because in my intake paperwork, I have them answer questions about their digestion, about their reproductive health, about their sinuses. I mean, so many different aspects of health that you wouldn't, again, connect to chiropractor. But I realized that poor digestion is an effect of being in fight or flight for too long. Because what is the other half of the nervous system? Rest and digest, or rest and repair, rest and reproduce. All of our healing, happy, joyful like moments happen when our nervous system is relaxed, when it's in what's called your parasympathetic nervous system, right? And so really with any of my patients, we're able to connect the fact that their physical pain is a product of a stressed out nervous system, not the other way around, unless it's like a trauma or like something different, right?
Right.
But usually if it's just, I've got this chronic pain that I started feeling when I was a late teenager and I never did anything about it, I just dealt with it type of thing. That's when I can usually say, yeah, we're not adapting very well. We're sick every other month. We aren't sleeping very well. Our digestion is horrible. I haven't pooped in 2 weeks. I've seen it all. And those are all the hallmark signs that there's dysregulation happening. Something isn't flowing. And as a chiropractor, I connect that with how well our brain is able to communicate with our body and how efficiently we're able to use the energy that we produce. So, does that help answer your question?
It does very much so. So besides like it being the family business, why did you decide, hey, I want to be a chiropractor too?
Okay, well, I'm a very unique case because I was exposed to chiropractic my whole life. My primary care physician has been my dad my whole life. And, but we did have a very interesting thing happen in our family when I was younger. So my mom, when I was just about 12 years old, was diagnosed with total kidney failure entirely. And this was something that was in our family, and unfortunately like her father and his brothers passed away from this very specific genetic kidney disorder that's really only supposed to be expressed in men. So like as a female, it was very unusual that she actually had kidney problems from it. And so that whole process sent my family down a completely new path when it came to how we approach health. And that's when we got introduced to what we call and what I practice is principled chiropractic, where we believe that the power that made the body heals the body. And we know that as long as there is no interference in that system, it can perfectly express health. So, going through that process and seeing my dad completely change how he was practicing chiropractic and seeing how my mom responded under care because she started getting adjusted more. They changed how she was getting care because it was not like, oh, at midnight, give me an adjustment real quick because I can't sleep. It's I'm coming in multiple times a week and I'm caring about my nervous system. And so not only did I see the change in my mom, because I don't know if you know anyone who's ever been on dialysis, but that's a very stressful process. Not only having to go to a center multiple times a week, if that's the style that you're doing, but it really, they say having or being on dialysis is equivalent to make like 15 to 20% kidney function. So it's still not great. But that whole time, I mean, my mom was always there. She was always around. Maybe that's a testament to my mom. But, I started to see the power of what chiropractic could do. And then I started working in the chiropractic office in my later high school years and seeing what it was doing for other people too, and how they were getting their livelihoods back without drugs, without surgery, enjoying coming to our office because we absolutely have a ton of fun in my office. It's not a stuffy doctor's office whatsoever. And it's a place where we get to cultivate healing and health and express it in community. And really, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. And I was taking us.
That's a great story. You know, there's nothing better than learning firsthand. You know, this has really made a significant impact. It's what we, you know, gives us that buy-in and that purpose to what we're doing. There's a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people listening to this may already have tried chiropractic services. Some may have not, but what would you say is the difference? Like, you know, with your mom going through like kidney issues, of course, she, you know, I'm assuming she had a primary care physician, but what is the difference between like just going to a primary care physician or like supplementing it with chiropractic?
So, they're traditionally the way that the healthcare system works in this country. We are usually seeking out a healthcare professional once something's wrong or like once something's off, right? Not when we're feeling good. It's like, oh, I feel bad now. Now I need to see somebody. But usually that's too late, right? Like think about like heart disease. It's way too late, you know, once you feel it, because you usually don't feel heart disease right away. You feel it when you have a attack, you know, unless you're on top of it and you're being proactive. And so that's the difference with chiropractic. Of course, we can be the person you come see once your back hurts or whatever it is. But we choose to be the place where you can be proactive about your health. In the same way, like you do with dentistry. From a young age, we're taught to brush your teeth, be proactive, take care of your teeth. And so why couldn't we say the same about the spine? I can get you new teeth all day, but I can't get you a new spine. And so this is about spinal hygiene and knowing that when you have a healthy spine, that is at the center of everything. And more than likely, we're going to have really, really good health outcomes and good quality of life and be able to keep up with our family, our kids, our grandkids for generations to come versus just waiting and waiting and waiting and dealing and dealing and dealing and medicating and covering up what we're experiencing, because that's usually the options we're given, right? Like if you're lucky, your medical doctor will send you to PT, maybe, and maybe that will help or maybe it won't. And so it's really a matter of do you know if you're subluxated? Do you know if you're misaligned? Have you been to a chiropractor who has taken x-rays of you and shown you the structure of your spine and helped you connect that to how you're functioning? Because that's what we choose to do, right? And like that's what I choose for anybody who goes to a chiropractor to do. And unfortunately, not every chiropractor is a structural nervous system based chiropractor. And so there's a lot of different ways to be a chiropractor. And so that's where there are tons of people like me, like our office though, around the country. And so if you're interested in finding a structural nervous system chiropractor, that's what I can help you with. And that's the type of chiropractor I would recommend seeing. But there's lots of different chiropractors and there's lots of different types of patients. And so it just depends on what.
Yeah, I'm sure it's just like finding, you know, a conventional physician versus a naturopathic physician. You have your like more holistic chiropractors out there, and then you have your more traditional chiropractors out there. So you just have to look for what's going to work for you. And it sounds like a lot of what you do is preventative. And I think that prevention is so underlooked at here and undervalued.
Because we're taught, right? If we feel good, we're healthy. Look good, feel good equals health.
Right.
I say look good, feel good does not equal health. You know, because I have so many patients who look good and would assumingly feel good, but they're not having a great time. And so we have to say, it's about function. How am I functioning in all these different aspects? Like I mentioned earlier, sleep, digestion, immune health, mental clarity and focus. If those things are changing for you, then it's just a matter of time until more things start changing, because the brain's always adapting. And if you don't tell the brain to do something different, and you don't have any other, and the only stimuli you have is the stress that you go through every day, then what else is your brain going to do? And so that's where getting adjusted, I always compare it to when, if your phone is on the fritz, like my computer today, and it's going haywire, and we just shut it down and turn it back on again, see if it fixed itself. I say that's what the adjustment does for us. That's what it does for your brain. It helps you reset.
What are some fears that people might have about going to a chiropractor? So let's speak to those that have never been, and they have those fears. What are some of those?
Which we encounter all the time, and that's totally okay, because there's a lot of myths out there about chiropractic, and now all these videos about chiropractors. I don't know if you've seen any of those on social media. So the adjustments can look very intense, right? Especially for adults. We definitely don't adjust infants the same way that we adjust adults, for any mom there. But with the adjustment, I will say it can sound like a lot. People, that popping noise that we hear when we do the adjustment, or maybe you don't know. Sometimes there's a popping noise when we when we do adjustments, and that can be scary. It's a lot like popping your fingers, right? It's that same sound. But when a chiropractor is performing that adjustment, it is a very, very specific move in a very specific direction that is designed to correct what we find on the x-ray. So that's very valuable to us, is having the x-ray. We know exactly where to adjust. We know that it's safe to adjust you. We don't have anything, no crazy bone growths or anything like that. And but if for my people who don't necessarily want to be adjusted that way, or are fearful of being adjusted that way in a more manual, hands-on type of way, we do have other techniques. I have a handheld adjusting tool that I call it my clicker, and I use it on kids and old people and people who are more sensitive, and everybody loves it. And so it's so non-invasive, no twisting, turning, popping, things like that. And we still get really good results. And so there are different techniques to help combat some of the fear of getting adjusted.
I have to say, I might be an anomaly, but I loved going to the chiropractor and like all the popping and the cracking. It's like I felt like I was doing something. I'm like, oh yeah, that feels good. And like sometimes he would adjust my neck, and I'd be like, oh, I see stars, but like in a really good way. And I know that might freak some people out.
Floaty, like a little, like very light and airy after you get adjusted. There's nothing like it. It's not like getting a massage or anything like that. And it's a totally different state of being, and I love it too. I'm like,
and let me tell you, finding out that my like one leg is like a half an inch shorter than the other, like every time I would go, he would be like, oh, your leg is short again, and he would adjust me and kind of get me back into position. It actually made me more mindful in yoga when I was, teaching yoga, practicing yoga, like how that might impact my stability and, how I walk and how I just stand and carry myself. So it was very fascinating. Otherwise I would have never known. He's like, stand on a step and let your other leg hang off.
No, that's good, because we typically have like a dominant side, especially as women. We'll cross our legs, and like we can only do it one way, and doing it the other way feels weird unless you're like real stretchy. And those things, like the way we sit, the way we sleep, the way we work, there's so many different factors that our body, again, our brain has to adapt to what's happening in the moment. And if we're in the moment for 8 hours a day here, we're going to adapt to that, and your spine's going to show it, and your body's going to feel it. And that's why I hear all of these people in their 30s these days are like, I feel like I'm 60. And I'm like, well, number one, we're not exercising as much as we used to, but number two, everything's stagnant. And I would say motion is lotion. And so getting things moving, making sure every segment is aligned is so important for our health.
Mm-hmm. And I love this conversation because it's really about prevention, learning to adapt, because I think the more resources we can use to build like a tolerance in a way to stress, so that when we are confronted with stress, we aren't like overly like,
responding. Like, exactly. I love that.
yeah.
There's so often, well, I call it patterns or cycles of stress, right? So much of life is about cycles. It can be an hour to hour cycle, it could be a daily cycle, a weekly thing. But when stress continues to build, but our ability to adapt doesn't keep up with it, just like you said, we can get those major, almost overreactions to our stressors, right? And that's when all of a sudden we blew up at our kids, or we, made some obscene gestures while we were driving. It gets to that point where we're not even thinking anymore, and we don't feel in control anymore. And that can be scary, especially once we notice that that pattern is continuing. And so this is a chance to just come back home, like I always say, and realign and make sure we're showing up in life the way that we really choose to be seen.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, someone typed in that they love Dr. Steph. So someone from your Texas area is watching this because they love you.
Oh, thanks. I
Well, before we sign off for today, do you have like a last minute message for people?
Yes. And so I know I've talked a lot about great chiropractic, and of course we're practicing this here down in Cypress, Texas. But if this has resonated with you and you're looking to get under chiropractic care, and you don't know where to start, find me on social media, find me on Facebook, find me through the chamber. I run the Cypress Holistic Chamber of Commerce. I'm the vice president, and I can help you find somebody near you that practices very similar to me, or at least I'll do my best. And so, because there's tons of us around the country, I think it's been really cool being a second generation chiropractor and seeing now my generation of doctors and how they're choosing to bring chiropractic to the forefront. And that's when it's all about the nervous system. It's all about how we're handling stress. And it's a lot more than just back pain and neck pain. That's for sure. We can help you with too.
That's fantastic. Thank you for that offer. I might hit you up on that. Find me somebody in Annapolis, Maryland that I can go see. So
I can find somebody there.
I'll shoot you an email.
Maryland. I got lots of people over there.
So. Good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Stephanie, for being with us today. We appreciate you sharing your wisdom and insights about chiropractic care and helping us adapt better to stress.
Thank you guys so much for having me. Find me on social. I'll help y'all out.
Will do. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.